Everybody, welcome back to the Moneyest Show. This is Andrew, your host. And today we have a special guest that flew all the way from the smoking hot Phoenix, Arizona, and our cold weather here in Utah. And he came in. His name is Amir. Make sure I say this right. Glogau, and originally from Israel. And he's a specialist in his background was. Let's say reinventing is in my head. It's not reinventing a company. It's turning a company around to the top.
Revitalizing.
Yeah, it's like reinventing. You didn't. Yeah. I mean, technically reinvented it, but you didn't reinvent the company. It's a turnaround. Yeah. Turnaround. And I was also stuck. Make sure I said it right. Glogau. Glogau. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Moneyest Show. And this week we have an incredible guest that flew all the way from the smoking hot Phoenix, Arizona to our cold, damp weather here in Utah. And unfortunately, he did not bring the sun with him. But what he did bring is a lot of knowledge for you entrepreneurs that are out there. I'm gonna give you a little bit of his background, and we're gonna dive into some really cool leadership stuff, as well as how they can help you with some different guides and mentors in their current business they're running right now. Amir has done 12 different business turnarounds, meaning 12 different companies that had failed, that were in bankruptcy, had closed down, and he came in and used his principles, processes, and systems to revitalize those companies and get them back on track, successful and or sell off again. He's had 2 different IPOs and over $500 million of M&A transactions. He took all that knowledge from those different turnarounds and the M&A acquisitions and put it inside of what he refers to as soul leadership. We're gonna talk about the 3 main topics of soul leadership. And then past that, we're gonna talk about Guidely, his new company that I want you guys to check out right away. Again, it's guidely.com, Guidely, guidely.com. On that note, you guys help me welcome Amir to the show. Amir, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Had a great time with you, man.
Thank you.
Awesome connection and that we had in the back, and I hope to have a really good connection here on the show as well to the viewers and members.
It's great to get to know you.
What's that?
It's great to getting to know you.
I wish my ex-wives had the same feeling of that. But hey, look, let's talk about a little bit. I obviously I want to deep dive in your soul leadership because I love a lot of the pieces there inside of it. Obviously, we went through it earlier, and it's obviously built through years of experience and going through the process. But before we get there, talk to us a little bit about how you got into the 12 turnaround companies, and how did you get into the entrepreneurship kind of world there?
So, I started as an accountant. I was a CPA with Arthur Andersen.
Okay.
Did basic, fundamentally dark room work, never saw daylight.
Excel spreadsheets.
Lotus 1, 2, 3, remember?
That's right, Lotus 1, 2, 3.
And kind of very quickly knew that the consulting world is not really my strong suit. I wanted to be on the court, on the field, and do stuff. And somehow the universe, as I want to call it, kept presenting me turnaround opportunities or distress situations of companies, circumstances that went sideways and really did not work the way they intended to. And whether it was within a large, holding group, whether it was within a software company, system integrator, different circumstances that really the company got distressed and didn't have money to make the next payroll, or already were in bankruptcy or about to declare bankruptcy. And one case after the other, somehow, I got thrown into a situation and had to get the what do you call it, the coal out of the fire. So to me, when you get into that, the first thing that I look at is what went out of alignment, what happened wrong.
Okay.
Right? There was some beautiful vision, some nice ideas, some good resources, good people. What went wrong, right? And in retrospect, after doing 12 of those, some big, some small, some private, some public, some privately held, some owned by institutional investors, I found some common denominators. And the main common denominator is that the companies got derailed from doing its purpose. And you can see that, I always said that the walls are talking. You can tell when you walk in your offices that there is harmony, that there is co-creation, collaboration, that there is a nice sense of fulfillment that you project.
You're saying at our offices?
Yeah, at your offices.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
You can see the people that, there is a camaraderie. You see that, and when you go to other situations, you come and you see that people are heads down, isolated, not collaborating, acting, being in a place of fear of what's going to happen to the company, what's going to happen to their job, what's going to happen with this client. Are these guys going to deliver the job? So it's you identify that distress. And then the next question is, what do you do? And that's how I ended up developing what, in retrospect, I call soul leadership. When I did that, I didn't really know that that's what I'm doing, right?
Yeah. When you, if we take a step back, and I want to dive a little bit deeper on maybe one of these companies that you went through there, and you helped repurpose, retool, get them back on track. As you were talking there, it seems like I've never really broke it down like that, but really inside of a company, if you come in from the outside, there's really only so many things that could go wrong, that threw it off track, right? Leadership, vision, operations, finance. Like if you actually start breaking it down, there's however many there may be, 10, 12, I don't know. And you would go in there and try to find which one of those was, or 2 or 3 that was throwing it off track. My question to you is, a lot of entrepreneurs are listening, is there one that you saw or 2 that you saw that were more of the common denominators that seem to be more frequently throwing them off track?
So I feel that those areas that you identify, whether it's sales, operations, manufacturing, finance, are almost like an outer symptom. And I believe that typically what goes wrong is like the inner, the spine of the business. It's not so much. It's not so much. Finance did something wrong, or the operations did something wrong. You always come to an organization and finger pointing goes all over the place, right? I mean, people blame each other for not following procedures or not having processes or whatever it is. But that's just the story that is being told. Behind that story, there is, I believe, even in an organizational culture, there is emotional layers. There is mistrust. There is, communication. There, we talked about value earlier. So the values are lacking. There is detachment from what the true values of the company are. So that when people start getting detached from that and they operate on their own agendas, then as many people as you have in an organization, as many issues you have, because each of them are going, different ways. And then how can you create some, alignment to go towards the same direction?
Yeah, that makes sense. You're saying that the sales or marketing or finance, whatever, is more of the outer symptom that you can see or spot quickly, earlier. But what's really going on is what's behind that internally.
Right.
Of
what's the story behind the story?
Yeah, and that's really where the real problems are coming out of. And it just in this one example of a company, it came out of the sales exterior side, but it was really something internally with the owners, the leadership, the C-level, whatever managers that are there. It's more of an internal problem that's there.
So when you have a group of leaders, sitting around the conference room and talking about operational, planning or whatever that is, and there is lack of trust between them, they can come up with whatever operational plan they want to. As soon as they leave the room, that plan is worthless.
Yeah.
So if there is no trust around the table, and we talked about Navy SEALs or different units, you don't do anything before you have trust.
Yeah, no.
The fundamental in communication, right? I want to know, if you talk to that client, it can't be that this guy doesn't know, right? I mean, there's got to be transparency and integrity and trust, and there are some fundamental culture elements that have to be in place before you can really create any alignment or any flow, if you will.
Right. And through that is where, not at the time, I'm even going to say not even meaning to, is where you kind of created, birthed, framed
soul leadership.
The soul leadership.
Yeah.
My one question I have for you is why call it soul leadership? The word soul has a lot of meanings to it, but why call it soul leadership?
So I believe that let me dive in for a second on what soul leadership is, and then I can better answer that question.
Sure.
So soul leadership is when we operate in alignment of the three following things. One is the emotional intentions. So how do I want to feel? The second is the choice, and the choice is the filter through which I see life. How do I interpret circumstances? If this sales guy didn't tell me about his conversation with the client, I may think that he intentionally exclude me, but it may be very, that's how he is, right? I mean, it's not, so I can interpret, situations in a different way. That's the choice. And then there is the action, which I divide into method and discipline, which we can dive in later. But once we operate in alignment of our emotional intention, our choices, and our actions, I believe that we operate from a higher self. I choose to call it soul, but we can call it however we want, higher self, or but it is a higher level of consciousness than the level of consciousness we operate in when we're just sitting and thinking about actions, right? It's
So those three, for right now, and this may be the right word, but those three phases, meaning emotional intent, choice, and actions. When those three phases, steps, philosophies align, is when, as a leader, whether it be in business, whether it be at you're coaching your kid's Little League baseball team, or you're being a partner in a relationship, when those three philosophies align is when, as a leader, you're at the highest level, if you will. Am I saying that right?
So you operate from your highest purpose, and you operate in a flow. There is far less resistance. If there is disconnect between my intentions and my actions, there is inner resistance.
Yeah, in myself. Forget the staff. Everything else.
Everything else. Everything else around us is just reflecting whatever is happening within us. So if we see resistance on the outside, there is some resistance inside. So the idea is really to bring ourselves to alignment. So the first step in an organization is really work with individuals to find their own alignment, and then within themselves as a team to create alignment. And sometimes it's learning to accept individuals with their strength and weakness. Right?
I was going to ask you this, like in a company, right? Let's say that, I'm not the leader in it. I'm not the owner, CEO. I work inside of a company at a mid-manager level. Okay. But I'm on a path of my life that I am self-growing, self-learning, and I come across your soul leadership, and I follow it. I implement it in my life, and I have my three philosophies or steps align. But how does it work when the other 9 people that I'm working with or managing, or whatever it may be, you haven't came into a corporate training, and so they're all out of whack? Would a person deal with that?
So it's very tricky, and I will tell you that even for me, who birthed it, sometimes I work with individuals and I say, oh my God, I can't deal with this, right? It's challenging, but it's also an opportunity, because when you see somebody else out of alignment, if you operate from a place of judgment and saying, oh, he doesn't see that, he's not good, then it creates a dynamic that is an unhealthy dynamic for you and for him. But if you try to come from a place of compassion, of understanding, of not knowing his full life story, the other part, and that could be a partner in life, that could be one of your kids, that could be a co-worker in your workplace. If you come from a place of compassion and are willing to hold space for another, you may see some miracles happen. You may see some transformation without becoming their coach.
Right.
Just holding space and understanding that sometimes, we too don't operate out of a place of alignment. And by the way, the fact that I was in alignment between 9 and 10 a.m. doesn't mean that I'll be in alignment between 2 and 3, right?
Right.
So it's not a constant state of mind that, we're always, and when you see your partner around the conference room that, is struggling right now, we may want to remember that, hey, 2 hours later, I'll be the one struggling. So it might be a good opportunity for me to, show some compassion and understand if there is a way to help them be in alignment that is not necessarily telling them what to do, but, showing them other alternatives.
Let's do this. Let's talk about, for clarity for the viewers, let's talk about a little bit of the 3 phases.
Yeah.
So that they get some foundational pieces of how it works. And then I want to come back to a couple questions once they have a little bit more clarity of how it works. Let's go through emotional intent, the first one. Or I guess, unless you start in a different order.
No.
Okay.
So I think that's the core,
Okay.
We, in many cases, we found ourselves feeling something that, is either desirable or undesirable. But we don't really understand that there is a connection between how we want to feel and how we actually feel. And when we, if we feel very warm and safe and pleasant right here in this dialogue, it's out of somewhere at some, unconscious level, we set an emotional intent walking into this door that will feel in a flow and in harmony and in connection, so that we can actually provide that conversation and share that with your viewers. So that setting up that emotional intention is the first step in and that could be before walking into a show, before walking into a meeting, before walking into a conversation with your partner, or in any setting. And I told you I like the segment intentional.
Yeah, I thought that was a great point you brought up, this segment intention. Explain just a little bit of that to everybody, segment intention.
So the idea is...
A little bit of what you're talking about already.
Yeah. So the idea is really before I do anything or before I show up, even if I just show up to listen, I want to show up to that other, one of the other 9 members of my team that are not in alignment. How do I want to show up? How do I want to feel? Do I want to feel frustrated with the other party, or do I want to feel in my own alignment, staying in my own lane and hold space for the other? How do I feel fulfilled, feel joy, feel whatever that is that I want to feel in that moment? So setting emotional intention, I believe that emotion is the highest, the emotional setting is the highest force that operates on us more than gravity. We're attracted to emotions. If we want to feel frustrated, if we feel frustrated or angry or whatever that is, it's because we chose at some point, in our programming, we chose to do that because it served some purpose. We got rewarded, right? If we were young kids that, every time we got, throw our fist and we got some reward for that, we got programmed to do that.
Right.
And we're not so used to program ourselves to set emotional intentions and get rewarded for it. We just don't see that. It requires a leap of faith, right? I mean, let me set the emotional intention for harmony today, for nurturing, for Shannon and I had this morning a beautiful brunch, and we just very nourishing, and we set intentions for the day. Nourishing was one of them, and without planning, without it, just miraculously happened.
I want to talk about that point right there that you mentioned, and I think this is a good training point for myself, and therefore probably for others as well. As you try to create emotional intent, and then segment intent, how do you find is the best way to create that throughout the day? Like you said this morning, you and Shannon had set the intentions to do this. Did you try to set intentions for many things today, or just that segment? How do you find the best way to go about it?
So you can go broad, which is typically a good way, first thing in the morning to set intentions for the day, right? We just, the night's sleep is a reset. So, just finished our reset, starting up our systems. Let's set intentions for the day. How do I want to show up today? And then within the day, you can also, before walking into your office earlier and before walking into this room, I set up my intentions to show up humbly and available and accessible and clear, so that I can bring the most value to you and to your audience. That is my intention right now in this session. So that's and it's very simple, but also very effective. Because when you set intentions, it's easier for you to be clear with yourself. How do you want to show up?
And setting intentions is not setting a motive.
No.
It's not setting a outcome. It's not setting that, right? Which a lot of business people, myself included, that's how I used to do everything. I would set I wouldn't say a motive, I would set the outcome in place.
I spoke with some students not long ago, and I talked about intentions. And one of them, I want to graduate this, and I want to buy this car, and I want to. And to me, it's always looking at the layer beyond that. So if you get that degree, how is that going to make you feel? If you get that car, what's the motive behind it? Like, how are you going to feel? It's asking the next layer question. Right? And typically asking ourselves first and foremost. It's not really asking others. Because I can ask you all day long, and you can have your inner dialogue. Asking myself and really getting to know ourselves is the biggest, journey. So the longest journey we do, right? In life, it's between the head and the heart.
The head and the heart?
Yeah. So it's just traveling here and finding out, how do I want to feel?
Yeah. Yeah, so last question I have on the intent side is, I love to think of segmented intent, which is, I give you an example on the show, and I wasn't doing this, but I'm calling it this now. There's a piece on the walkway when I walk over here. I actually do it normally by myself, meaning I don't go with the guest, and I do that on purpose because I try to refocus my brain from where we just were into what I'm about to go do now. And I go through I will kind of internally talk to myself about putting myself in a framework of how do I add value or help to the audience. And it's unique, but if I'm very, very honest, which I try to always be, is right now my intent is not to add value or help to per se the guest, is to add value and help to the viewers right now. Earlier in the office is where I try to say, okay, hey, how can I be of service, of help to the guest? But as I made that transition, that would be setting the intent for the show, is what you're saying. That's me doing that. I didn't call it that, but that's what I have a trained place I do it at. That's what that is, setting.
That's exactly right. And in sports we call it pep talk, or in other, it's like having that inner dialogue, but being in service and feeling center and feeling, so I think the nuance here about the emotional aspect is not just setting the intent to be of service, but to feel at my best, to feel fulfilled, to feel generous, to feel love, right? To feel the connection. So I think that's when we practice that at the emotional level, because we, especially us men, emotional is not our strong suit, right?
Yeah.
So
well, speak for yourself.
And especially when you talk to entrepreneurs and business, and it's like we're very left brain centric, and engaging the emotional side really opens up something different that we so when we become entrepreneurs, we want to be successful. What is that success? What is success?
Right, what is that? Define
Right.
that for you.
Yeah.
It's different for different people. And,
Right.
Right? You can't just tell everybody success is this. That's not true, because people are different.
Right. So being in your, what is success? To me, showing up, being present and aware and expressive, clear, that's success.
Yeah.
And whether the business is worth that or that,
X or Y.
that's an outcome.
Yeah.
That is not, it's not the other way around.
It's a very good definition of it, right? Because so many times people talk about success as success is when, I heard this one a lot, success is when I can do, and I hate this one, but when I can do what I want, when I want, how I want, where I want. And that's success. And to me, I don't know, man, whenever I heard that, I just felt like, well, that's a lot about you, though. That is centered around you. And which is like, I guess, I go back to my point of teach their own, do however you want to. But I like how you were defining it. Really, success is the outcome of the company being worth 100 million or a billion. That's just the outcome of that adventure, that company, that business that was there. Success would have to be contained within myself first and only, whether or not it goes to 100 million or 300 million or 5 or a billion. Success is from within, of me being in alignment and me feeling the emotion that I want and need to feel. Am I saying that back to you the right way?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense, because if I live in that state, then I determine my success. It's me doing it, not an outcome that says, okay, now I'm successful. Success is derived from within, of what feeling did I want to feel. And I think outside, I was making a mistake, because I was as I was listening to you, I was saying, switching gears into how can I help the viewers, or how can I provide content or value to the viewers. I was not, which is more about the outcome of the show. What I was not asking myself is, how do I want to feel at the end of this show? Because that would produce a different answer of the intent.
So I wanna.
Of course.
I wanna use another. That's a great way to look at it. I want to use, we can set up, let's say that I want the company to get to $1 billion. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks unicorns now. So I want to get to $1 billion. So I can do a lot of good things, but if my emotional intention is not set up right, I'll go through frustration and anger and disappointments and whatever bitterness and resistance that will hold me back from. So if I said, go through those and you'll get to $1 billion, or go the easy, the least path of least resistance, mm-hmm. and get to whatever the number is. What is our choice, right? Because when you'll get to $1 billion, it's not going to be enough, I promise you, because our journey is about overcoming that emotional resistance. It's not about the money, and we can talk about the definition of money later. But it's not about that. It's not about having so many followers, having this, having whatever it's about really getting into alignment with how I want to feel, and choosing and being able to manifest however I want to feel. Yeah,
I love the idea and the concept, and I understand why I think you use the words, the most relevant or powerful of the three is setting the emotional intent, because it really controls it produces so much of what your success is or is not when you set that. The last question I have is, you talk about this segmented intent. Does a person have an overall life intent, and is that carried through, or is that a feeling that of the life intent that would change periodically, or is it just a segment that could change throughout the day because you're doing different things, and is the life the same?
So it's a philosophical question a little bit. I will tell you that I think once we get to the highest emotional intention is love.
Love?
I believe that's the highest we can get to. But how quickly do we get there, and what do we go? I mean, we all learn to live with fear, right? I mean, we as young kids, we all grow through our childhood trauma, childhood challenges, and we deal with fears. I mean, fear of rejection, fear of self-worth, and all sorts of fears. And those are dominant in our life for many, many years. And until we start owning them, and then we can start shifting from Jerry Zukov, the author of Seed of the Soul, is one of the best books, the most interviewed guest, I believe, on Oprah. Says that this is our biggest choice every single minute in our life, in our day. Fear or love. So I think when you live in the day-to-day, it's a little challenging to make that distinction, but rather bring it down to more tangible emotions in the moment. So right now, I want to feel in the flow, and I want to feel ease and harmony and connection. It is also subsets of love, right?
Right.
But the life is very, is a big, to love and be loved is my ultimate. And we talked about the definition of love for me, which is connection.
Connection, yeah.
So I think those are the fundamentals. But once you get into a segment, you can be more specific. I want to be creative. Hey, I'm getting into a brainstorming session. I want to be creative right now. So
it's not that one person would have an emotional intent about their life, like making something that my emotional intent. I use the word fulfilled, or my emotional intent would not be fulfilled across my life. It would be more of going back a little bit of what you're talking about, choosing love and fear, and more on a daily basis, choosing love over fear, and then inside of that day, it could segment into, in this example, I want to choose harmony and flow and positive energy. Here would be the feeling I'd want now, but that comes from the channel of love versus fear.
Right.
And it's choosing how I feel versus what outcome do I want.
Absolutely. So if I'm able to set up my ultimate goal as love, and then I can do the segment intentions, and I can set up my intentions that are in alignment with that higher, purpose of being love. Being love. Love is not an act; it's a being love. Then everything will fall into place. Then the outcomes are secondary.
Right. That's secondary.
Right. I mean, you can think about so many examples in life. Like Mahatma Gandhi was a homeless, so many stories. But he was love. He was pure. He showed up as pure love.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about what we have, how much. It's about really, and we can still be very successful entrepreneurs and wealthy and be a part of that, or we can be that and be love.
Yeah. Let's move to the next point, which was choice.
Yeah.
Is the next one.
Yeah.
And define that one for us.
So choice is in the Jewish Kabbalah, there is an interpretation of one of the chapters in the Bible, which talks about gates and guards, and really the way talks about that's the only freedom we have in life, to choose what we are willing to take in and bring out. So what do we want to hear? What do we want to see? What do we want to, how do we let our senses drive us? And also, what do we want to say? And that's really the choice. The choice is how do we interpret, what do we filter in, and how do we interpret that?
Okay.
And we can interpret something as a threat, where it's something very different. But we live in such a instant gratification world, where we have to be, instead of creating a gap between something and a response, we're minimizing that, right? I mean, somebody was telling me yesterday that Facebook now, 15 seconds video on Facebook are too long.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what are we coming down to, right?
Right.
So think about that, what that requires in terms of how quickly we're required to respond to something. So creating that space and allowing ourselves to interpret that for the highest good. So this is our choice. How do we interpret, whether it's COVID, right? I mean, you were talking about how it impacted your journey, and you could interpret it one way, like, oh my God, I'm a victim. And is it for me or to me, right? And for you turn it very quickly into something that happened for you.
So let me ask you, on that question there, let me ask you that. You talk about like the filter, and we were talking about in my office as well, talk about the kind of the filter of how you view something and how something that happens, and how you intake that, and then how you view it, and then how do you interpret what took place there. And I have always said, and I said in my office, that I've always felt like I've had a very I'll use the word lucky outlook, in the fact of I've always viewed my filter as positive, opportunity, silver lining, whatever. I'm trying to think of the words that people would use there, where even when bad stuff happens, my brain somehow immediately starts switching and says, okay, that's fine, it's already happened, I can't control that, that's already done. Okay, but where's the next, I'm using the word, almost where's the next beautiful moment, and where's it going to take place at? And let me focus on that versus this that I cannot control, I cannot change. It is what it is. I can agree, disagree, love, hate, but it's happened. So let me look at this. So is that something, when I say, man, I feel like I was kind of born with that outlook, is that a true statement, or is it something that I have to, that people develop over time?
So I believe that at some point you made a choice.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, we can go into reincarnation and souls and whatever, but let's keep that, keep
on another show.
On another show.
For Joe Rogan.
Right, exactly. and stay here with this and say, I think at some point you learned that. You developed that outlook. But I would also say that, it's I think allowing some emotional process to understand that something has happened and there is a separation from what I knew, whether it's, public speaking, whether it's, live events, whatever that is, into a different journey, and creativity. You are very creative. You have the ability to be in a junction where seems like everything is falling apart, and out of nowhere come up with something new.
Right.
That's creativity. And that's a moment where you because of your gift of seeing through things, you're able to be creative and create something new for yourself and for others around you, and so many people benefit from it. I also like to use the serenity prayer.
Okay.
Right? God give us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So sometimes the things that are happening around us are not in our control. And just give me that serenity to accept them and to have the courage to change the things I can. In business, like this is a day-to-day, this is not a, spiritual conversation. This is a very practical conversation. I'm the chairman of a company in the live event business. And COVID hit just like you, and live events, overnight.
Yeah.
95% drop in revenues Q2 2020.
Yeah.
What do you do? And you become creative, you do process, you do grieve the world as you knew it. You take a moment to undust yourself, but you understand that you can't change. And you have to have the courage to develop something that you can.
Yeah, on that prayer, it's unique when you said it. As I was processing it with you, I've never looked at it from the standpoint of give me the serenity to change, to accept the things I cannot change, and the second one is give me the courage to change the things that I can change. And I've never looked at it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it just went through my head when you said it. Of serenity, being able to accept the things that I cannot change, but the courage to change what I can. And I guess I've always viewed that, for whatever reason, as the courage to change the scenarios that I can change is how I kind of tie that into it. But for whatever reason, when you said it, it made me think of the courage is the serenity to accept it, and the courage to change what I can, which maybe it's actually me that's the courage to change this direction, this path, this journey, not change that scenario that I'm sitting inside of that business or whatever it may be. And for whatever reason, I process it differently when you said it. Of the courage to change might be the courage to change me, the direction, the path that I'm going down, not necessarily the scenario that's there.
So I go back to Mahatma Gandhi, who said, be the change you want to see in the world. So it's like if we keep making ourselves subjective to what happens around us.
Right.
And it's really not about it. It's
Right.
about what happens within us.
Right.
So if we are changing the perspective of how we look at things,
right.
then the things will change.
Yeah.
We don't need to, and that's the only real change we can make in life.
Yeah.
So that is the choice of how do you view external appearances, however they are. And by the way, it's about good things too, because we get to be very subjective to the good things. So okay, I made the first $1 million. Now I need the next one, right? And if it's not happening, then I'm not successful. And I start judging myself as to, but if I'm living in my gift and in my service and in my love, then it doesn't really matter if I made the first $1 million and the second $1 million, or it's really, and that will come. That will be an outcome. And it does require a leap of faith, but it does come.
And quickly, the last point, because I want to talk about your company, Guide Lee, because it's kind of a lot of this kind of branched into Guide Lee,
right.
and then expanded, of course, to massive levels. But quickly, the last one was action of the 3 steps of the soul leadership. And action is method and discipline.
Right. So I use the analogy of a diet or workout that we tend to, when we want to make a change in our life or in our physical form. Again, I do want to throw the emotional intention, like how do we want to feel? Do we want to make a change because society, fashion, whoever dictates, or is it really because I want to feel in my highest functionality and vibrancy and creativity? And if I do, then now I got to pick the right method. So I think I gave you the example earlier. If my workout needed to be running, I would be very lazy. It's not, just doesn't work for me.
Right. That method.
The
does
method.
Not work for you.
So the method, I have to find the right method for the organization, for myself, for the organization I serve. And if for your entrepreneurs audience, they got to look at what's the right method. And you can talk Six Sigma, and you can talk theory of constraints, and you can talk whatever different methods to make organizations more effective. You have to make sure that you really bring in a method that is relevant for the organization and for the culture that resides within the organization. And then the second part is the discipline. You want to make sure that once you found that, the method, you apply that method with discipline over a long period of time, and not give it 2 weeks and say, that didn't really work.
Right.
And then let's switch a method and try something else. It typically happens when we do something that is out of alignment. When we find a method that is within alignment, the discipline part becomes a little easier.
On those 3 steps, I know we could dive deeper into them, but those are the 3 main philosophies of soul leadership, which you developed over many, many years of training companies and corporations and so forth. And then you have recently kind of birthed, with a partner, Guide Lee. And guidely.com, which is Guidely, guidely.com. So if they want to know a little bit more about what even soul leadership, but also other mentors and facets of life, you created Guide Lee. Give us a 30,000-foot view of Guide Lee.
So Guide Lee was born right before COVID started, and it was born with my purpose, my mission statement, which is never walk alone. I wanted us to build a platform that can really help individuals feel supported on the different phases of their journey in life, whatever it is. So all in the personal development space. We cover 16 topics, which includes trauma, addiction, communication, divorce, relationship, career, money is one of our topics. So we cover 16 topics. We have about 100 guides from 17 countries around the world that provides individuals with guidance and support as they walk through their journey. And guide, just as a definition, is an inclusive word for us. for mentor, coach, healer, therapist that can cover different modalities and help individuals. So think about it as the junction between mental health and mindfulness and spirituality.
That's the when you say the junction, you're talking about Guidely.
Yeah.
Is the junction.
Yeah.
Because Guidely is a platform
Right.
that connects me as an individual that is seeking help, guidance, support, therapist style, spiritual therapy, in whatever category wherever I'm at in life that I'm going through. And Guidely is there to allow me to come onto the platform and find a qualified, and maybe you could use the word certified, because I know you guys go through a lot of process of bringing on certain trainers and guides. But it allows me to connect with a guide that has their whole background pushed into this arena, if you will, of spiritual or trauma help or whatever it may be. And then I can connect with that person and go through the process training, get the support that I need, get the guide to help me get through the process.
Yeah, I mean we're in an area of burnout, stress, great resignation, both as employees and as employers. We're struggling. There is a greater misalignment right now in the workplace, and creating that realignment between employers and employees and within employees. I mean, creating new culture in the post-COVID requires a really deep reset, if you will, on an individual level and on an organizational level. And we're trying to be, supportive to individuals and to leaders.
One thing I love that you guys do is the 21-day virtual training. When you told me, I literally took notes.
Yeah.
I thought, man, that's genius. 21 days, 21 minutes.
Yeah.
If you can, if someone like me on the outside is looking at it and saying, well, I am in a spot in maybe one area or 5 areas, whatever it may be, that I'm looking for help training in, the 21-day virtual training, is it kind of a blended process of many, many categories that I could get on every morning and learn pieces of each of them and kind of maybe open my eyes to which one I want to go further into?
Yeah. So we created the 21 days. First of all, 21 days is the amount of time that requires an individual to change a habit, research and whatever. So we created the 21 days, but we also understand people don't have time. So we created every day 21 minutes, a short talk and embodiment and a work that you can do with one of our everyday different guide. And we just finished that yesterday. We have all the recordings available, and we want to offer your audience free access to the recording of the 21 days. We're happy to, whenever the time is right, to give you the how to get that.
To a link? Okay.
It's built over 3 weeks. The first week is really letting go. And the second phase is nurturing. And the third phase is going within. So the idea is really identifying, in the first week, identifying all the chatter, all the noise, all the stories, all the, programming that we come with. The second phase is really strengthening who we are and providing ourselves nourishment and nurturing for what we really care about. And then the third phase is really going within and supporting ourselves as we go to the other side of it. So it's really, and you can go and listen to one talk or any of the talk or all of them. And there is a lot of really deep work that is condensed into 21 days.
Yeah, I am obviously for sure want to go through it, the 21 days. So get me the link ASAP, because I'm going to go through it.
So it's hello@guidely.com. Email.
Oh, okay, you have it right here?
Email to hello@guidely.com.
hello@guidely.com, okay.
And just write Andrew Cordell,
okay,
and you'll get an email with the free access.
With the free access to it, and they can go and watch the different videos. So again, it's just email, hello@guidely.com, and then my name. And you can either put Andrew Cordell or Big Daddy, either one, and you guys will know what to do from there.
Andrew
That's
Cordell.
my intent
Big Daddy
that I
set.
Awesome, man. I love talking to you. You're one of the guests that I could sincerely talk to for hours and hours, and
I feel the same way.
I feel very connected and strongly connected to you, and there's a raw openness that is in raw openness and vulnerability that exists, that I love being in that moment of raw vulnerability, of pure openness, and no angles and no set purpose of trying to do something, and very few times in probably your life, but at least when where I'm at, do I find people that I can connect on that piece to, right?
I feel the same way, and I wanna say something that connects to the soul leadership about that. So choice is one of our, is the second layer, right? And I have to make a confession here.
Sure.
And share with you, when we were introduced to a friend, we didn't know each other prior to this, and I looked you up, and I looked at your website and the videos, and you did not come across on the website as a very accessible, genuine, authentic individual. And I found completely the opposite. I found a very authentic, very high integrity, genuine, accessible, vulnerable individual that I can really relate to and become a lifelong friend. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and it's unique because, we in my office, we talked about and I classified as kind of the three phases. That site was built in phase 1. At the end, very, very end of phase 1 is when it was built. And it's on my mind. It's one of those things that I'm in the process of a deep ponder on. And when I ponder on something, I'll just sit on it until I can find the right piece. And I haven't, because it's on my mind to go rebuild the whole site, because it doesn't represent who I am right now. It doesn't represent where I'm at, what I want to portray. I just haven't put my finger on where it's at yet and how to go rebuild it. But I'm glad you. Maybe I'm unfortunate that you looked at it, but glad that you actually met the real.
No, so I met the real one, and I think it's important for your audience to know that even though you sit behind the camera and you sit behind the very personable human being that going through the motions of life, very vulnerable, and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, man. I sincerely appreciate it. And Shannon, your partner, gave me one of the best compliments that I love right now, and I have set out with intent. I'm not kidding you. I've set out with intent in the beginning of 2021, when I was kind of going through, hey, what are some things that I would like to accomplish? And one of them, not one of them, the number one intent that I set out was presence. Be present. Just live in the moment of right now and just be fully present. And this may be good or bad, but she was the first time in 2021 that someone has came out and finally said that my presence was purely there. And it took me 11 months to get the compliment.
She has so far, we don't, this is an external affirmation.
Sure.
But you know that you are showing up and you are present.
I know that I am, yeah.
And she has the gift of identifying and spotifying and also picking the right word. And by the way, for those audience that do want to be matched with the guides, she is the one who matches people who come to the platform with guides. So
with their guides.
Yeah, so she has an incredible gift.
She has a gift. Yeah, there's people that have different types of gifts, and she has a very unique gift that's there. It's for sure there. So again, coming from her is meant even more, because I know it comes from a place of purity, sincerity inside of it. Let's get to the question here, Amir. With Money is Blank, and a lot of when you started Money Is has to do with a lot of what you're talking about is life cannot be driven by money. There's no way. You will not be happy. It is a fake mirage that if you think that success has to do with money and your happiness will only be driven off of money, it's not true. And I wanted to try to help people understand there has to be something more than just money and entrepreneurship, or you're going to be a very unhappy person for a very long time. So I want to get your answer here, and if you'll write the answer there and then sign right here, and then me and you can discuss this together. Again, as he's doing that, you guys make sure you for sure go to his website, guidely.com, and check out the 16 different topics they can help you with And hey, no matter what, you get a 15-minute call with Shannon as your guide to help walk you through that. And then make sure you email them at hello@guidely.com with my name there for the 21-minute sessions that you guys have with your trainers there. This is Amir, and he says money is money is a measuring stick. Money is a measuring stick. Okay, it's the first time I've had that answer. And it's one of my favorite times to get a fresh new answer. But what does it mean to you? Money is a measuring stick.
So, money was invented as an exchange, as a currency, for people to be able to measure goods and commodities and services, right? That's all. It's not, so we attach emotions to money. If we have so much money, status, right? I mean, how many times we've seen people in life that have, 2 more bucks in their bank account and they feel superior, or less and feel inferior. And it creates so much emotional charge. There is so much, money is energy too, by the way. So
Those
money,
are my favorite answers.
Yeah, so money is energy, but to me, there is a misperception about money fundamentally, and we develop love-hate relationship with money. How can that be? I mean, it's just money. So I don't think, I'm not, I live in this world and I use money. I'm not a monk that lives in one of the people we interviewed on Guidely is His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and he never have not used money himself since, I don't know what year, 60 something. But so I'm not that guy. Sure. I use money, I enjoy money, I'm not but it's just money. And when we tie emotions to it, and we tie success and rating and it's value, it becomes misperceived, and then we start feeling good or bad because we have more or less, and then we are worthy less or more. So it's just a measuring stick. I think it's an important reminder for people.
Yeah, it's very true. I haven't thought about from the emotional side of money, because I always say that there's 3 things on the planet that create great things and horrible things, and you can choose which way it goes. Love creates incredible things and horrible things, right? How many wars were started and death was from love? Religion and money. Those are the 3 that cause greatest moments and also some of the worst times in history. And money is such an emotional thing. But for whatever reason, again, just making connections here, is that when you allow money to represent your success, then you're going to attach an emotion, a personal emotional value to yourself attached to your bank account. Right. Which now means you're going to use the outcome of something as your determining factor of self-value or self-worth, of happiness, of success. And you're going to attach your emotions to that. And if you have it, you'll be happy. And if you don't have it, then you're going to be miserable. And that's a horrible way to live in general.
So you talk about, I believe that love, religion, and money can create good things and bad things. I think love in its purest form cannot do anything bad. But when we create a sense of attachment to it, or power over, or possessiveness of my loved one, or whatever that is, that creates
Yeah, I think it's probably a mixture of all 3 of those. Or if you have
right, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
So same religion, the philosophy and the fundamentals of every religion are beautiful.
At its purest.
At its purest, are beautiful. I've studied Quran, and I've studied Kabbalah, and I've studied Sufism a little bit, and definitely spent a lot of time in India studied the order of philosophy. Beautiful. But when it comes to the administrative side, and where there is a sense of power over, that's where it gets messy.
Yeah.
And same with money.
Yeah.
When I use money for power over, then when it gets messed up. That's why it's just a measuring stick.
Yeah, I love that point. And then the last thing I'll say was on the measuring stick is very, very true. If you go back to the beginning of it, money was a measuring stick. It was a way to measure, instead of saying, 1 cow for 2 goats and 4 chickens.
Right.
We created a measuring stick.
Yeah.
And at one point it used to be a scales, and they would put weigh the money as a way to do it, as a way of a measuring stick, if you will. And the thing I love about it is money is, I use the analogy a lot of times that money is energy, meaning money is stored energy. So I have this $100 that I was given for work. That means that it represents the energy that I used, the energy that whether it be mental energy or physical energy or emotional energy, but I exerted some sort of my time of energy. And in return, I was given, say, this $100. The $100 simply is a measuring stick of my stored energy, is what it's representing. That's something that could have happened, if you will, 12 years ago, but I'm just now using this $100 bill, if you will, from 12 years ago. If I got it and kept all the money in line of the energy, and it's just a measuring stick of that energy, and that energy now represents X amount of value, and now I can exchange that for that pen, that cup, whatever it may be. And it's very true. Money is simply a measuring stick, and it's how it was literally created back in the day. Is how it was created, and it represents your stored energy that you exerted, and you get X dollars, or in Vietnam, I think they call it dong, and Singapore, they call it, what is it in Singapore? I think it's dollars there, and then what's the baht? I'm going to all the countries that I've traveled through. Thailand is baht. Across the country, and it's just the stored energy from it.
So it's like when we go and buy something, if we thought about, would I put my energy in it, rather than would I write that check?
Am I willing to exchange my life?
Right.
That's what I'm just doing for it.
Yeah.
My life is representative of energy. Yeah. And what's funny is, keep this in mind. If I'm going to go exchange my dollars or my energy to buy this cup, what's amazing is, do you know what this cup also represents? Energy on the other side.
Right.
Someone else spent their energy to create and build and form, paint, whatever it is, this cup. Yeah. And it represents their energy. I'm going to exchange my energy for their energy. It's a very unique way, if you start looking at life, of what money is. It's just stored energy, and am I willing to exchange on a platform that stored energy for your stored energy?
So I was in India, in Varanasi in India, many years ago, and we were served a very nourishing, beautiful dinner in front of us. And my guru was, before we started eating, he said that he wants to bless all the people who were involved in preparing the meal. And he started with his wife and his daughter and 2 daughters-in-law. And then he went to the farmers and the growers and it taught for an hour about all the people involved in the moment of having that food on the plate.
Yeah.
And we're just going to eat it in 2 minutes, right?
Right.
So it's just understanding, the energy contained in the food we consume.
It's amazing. It's amazing when you get deep and start understanding what life is really about. Amir, I loved having the show. I loved having my office, and look forward to doing some more work with you. And there's some introductions that I need to make sure I get from you, from some people that I want to go deep dive with.
And vice versa. This is the first step in a long-term friendship, and I really enjoy this.
Yeah, I enjoy it and look forward to building it, and as well with Shannon as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the presence that she brings. It's a very, very calming, pure presence that she brings into a room. So I enjoyed it. For you who's watching the show, I hope you enjoyed the Money Is show here with Amir. Make sure you can check out guidely.com, where you can find out the 16 different categories that they can help you with on finding you spiritual guides, mental guides, trauma to help you through the process. We'll see you next week on the Money Is show.